Hi. Three of my biggest fans, probably my only fans, have asked me for some more videos because it's been a while since I made some videos. And in fact, I was trying to get this one started to mention that I had three fans, and my son was back there laughing at me. He said, "Who are your three fans?" But there are at least three people that have asked me to make some more videos. The problem was my family. We went out to Hawaii on vacation in June, and I kind of got the island spirit there, and have been having a hard time getting back into doing things that I was doing before. It was got a little lazy there, and sat on a few beaches and really enjoyed that time there. And it's kind of hard to get back into life after a few weeks over there in Hawaii. But since somebody's asked for some more videos, I guess I'll go ahead and make some more videos. I wanted to talk a little bit today about a couple books that I read recently. I read two books by an author, Oliver DeMille. I read a Thomas Jefferson Education and a Freedom Shift. And highly recommend reading these books. There's some very good information there. It's interesting to have his viewpoint on our education in our country. And we all know and have been worried about our educational system, and we've tried to throw more money at it and tried to implement different programs and various things. And here in Arizona, we're ranked pretty low overall in the nation in our education, and I've seen that firsthand as all of my children have attended public schools. Our oldest son, he had a pretty good experience at school. He went through what's called an IB program, which was pretty grueling. It required a lot of studying. It required some service hours outside of school, and required some fighting with the school to try to make sure he can get all the classes he needed to not only graduate but get the IB diploma. And that worked out pretty well for him. But our next two children have had vastly different experiences in the public school system. And in fact, neither of them are going to finish high school. Our second son got his GED earlier this year. And then our daughter, who would be a senior this year, saw that her older brother was able to just go get a GED, and so she said, "I'm not going back for my senior year," and she just got her GED. So we didn't have very good experiences with those two in the public school system. They really weren't learning anything. They weren't getting anything out of it. There was no value being added to them. And reading that book by Oliver DeMille, A Thomas Jefferson Education, really opened my eyes a bit, because when our first son was struggling at school, it really hit me hard, because we're taught in America that the right thing to do is go to school, go to high school, get your high school diploma. After high school, go to college, take out a lot of loans so that you can get your college degree, and then go get a job. And that's what we're taught nowadays in America, is to go do that. And so people do. We follow that. I followed that course. I actually graduated as valedictorian of my class in high school, and I went on to school. I got a degree in electrical engineering. Never did a thing with electrical engineering. I think that's what happens with a lot of people. They go get degrees and they don't do anything with it. I actually got into computer programming instead of electrical engineering. I've been there for 23 years. But I followed that same path. I came out of school. I was lucky, I guess, by today's standards, especially, in that I came out with very little in student loans. I think it was only about $5,000, because my wife and I worked me through school so that we didn't have to take out too many loans. But many today are coming out. I just heard a presentation, a seminar last night by a couple who came out of 9 years of college with $142,000 in student loans. That is a terrible way to start your life out, just starting out with $142,000 in debt. And that's what we teach our children today. That's what we're teaching. That's what our education system is doing, is teaching us to go out. It's training us for these jobs. It's training us to go in debt, training us to get a mortgage, buy cars with car loans and student loans and all of this. And as I read that book, A Thomas Jefferson Education, it helped me realize that there are alternatives. And the way to fix our education system isn't to just continue to throw money at it. we need to change the system so that we're helping children learn and love to learn. The children themselves need to provide their own education, and they need to be mentored and taught to learn to love and to learn to read. And so one thing that we've decided to do in my family, after reading that book and knowing the experiences that we've already had with public education, one thing that we've decided to do, and I've asked my children to do who are still at home, is we're going to read a book, and not just any book. We're going to be looking through classics or books that may teach some principles, or biographies or history books, or good books that will help teach principles. And we're going to read one at least once a month, and we're going to discuss it as a family as we read it. Hopefully at the dinner table, or in some other times. We're going to discuss it as we go through, and if I don't think that the discussions are good enough, I might even ask them to write a report on it. But the thing is, I want them to learn to start reading. My children love to read. They already do love to read. They read books all the time. But I want to introduce them to other types of books. They read novels and youth oriented books and so on. But I want to introduce them to some classics and get them reading things that are going to teach good principles, teach moral values, teach history, or teach from the lives of men and women who have made a difference in this world. And so this month, actually, we picked a book. I threw a couple suggestions out, but my daughter suggested that we read Fahrenheit 451. And I read this book a few years ago, really liked it, and thought, yeah, let's do that, because it really has some good commentaries on our world today. This book was written many, many years ago. In fact, this is the 60th anniversary version of the book right here. And it was obviously written and has a lot in it about that time frame. But sorry, my dogs are running around. You can hear their claws on the floor here. But the message is still applying. As I started reading again, and it just hit me about how applicable this book is still to our day. And my youngest son was reading it. He came back from school one day just talking about how excited he was to be reading this book and how great a book it was. And he said at one point he was reading the book in class, and he hit a certain page and he was reading it, and he just had to put the book down and just slammed it down and looked up and just had to sit there and think about what he was reading, because it was incredible. And we had a great discussion at the dinner table that night about the book. So my point here is that yes, we all understand that our education system in the United States needs some help. We've tried many things. We've been trying many things for decades to improve our education system. But we just need to get back to some basics. We need to get back to reading and using classic books in our education, mentors and good teaching, and allowing children to go out and learn to love to read, and stop trying to put them in a cookie cutter education and allow them to be independent thinkers. What I highly recommend that you do is go find the book by Oliver DeMille, Thomas Jefferson Education, and read it for yourselves. It was very eye-opening for me. And his other book that I mentioned that I read, Freedom Shift, was also very eye-opening for me. I'm not going to go over that one right in this video. I'll cover that one in another, because there's some very interesting things there about how we can begin to recover our freedoms. I think it's pretty obvious here in the United States, as you can see what's going on over the last decades and so, that our freedoms are eroding. And this book helps pinpoint some of the reasons why and some of the things we can do to get them back. But we'll cover that in another video. So for today, I'll just sign off with this. Grab that book, A Thomas Jefferson Education, read it, and let's find some truly meaningful ways to improve our education system here in the United States.